Welcome to the Broker Collective podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Malone, president of HRO Resources and the Broker Collective. Really excited about this episode. I think very timely with what's going on in the insurance space, the hard market, kind of a lot of challenges out there with sales and renewals. And so, excited about this guest, and I'll let Elyse introduce herself further in a minute, but she has a very impressive background that I think will leave all of you, I think, with some new thoughts and wisdom, and definitely some inspiration and motivation after this conversation. She is the founder of the Superhuman selling and she sells movements, which both empower entrepreneurs and sales professionals to really revolutionize how they sell, explode their income, and achieve quantum leaps in all areas of life. She's been featured in Forbes and Inc. Also, she's an international keynote speaker and host of She Sells Radio, which it looks like you have a ton of following there, which is amazing. I can't wait to start following that myself. I know a lot of what Elyse does is geared towards women in sales, but really it looks like kind of touching everyone kind of out there. But she really empowers female entrepreneurs and salespeople to accomplish extraordinary goals, and this is just a part of her very impressive resume. But Elyse Archer, thanks for jumping on with us. Glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Marcus. This is so fun. And by the way, well done for pronouncing She Sells. When I was naming that brand, I didn't anticipate what a tongue twister it would be for so many people. So well done. But one thing I will say just right off the bat is sometimes people can think, oh gosh, this isn't for me, right? If you're a man and you're listening, and I know probably statistically most of your listeners are men, and I just want to say it is 100% for everyone. And that's when we initially launched a couple of years ago, we launched She Sells specifically because we saw the need for sales coaching and training that was geared towards women. The principles are so universal, and we have so many men in our community now who are like, when are you going to launch She Sells? I'm ready for it. And they listen to the podcast, and they're part of the community. And so I just want to say these principles really are universal. And so we are all about helping you create that quantum leap in your income, your revenue, your life. And I'm excited to dive in with you today. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, your revenue is kind of proof in the pudding, but, an absolute powerhouse in sales and sales coaching. And really just kind of, probably a good place to start, if you don't mind, is kind of giving us a quick 60-second-ish high-level picture of really how you got started and how you kind of the path that took you to where you are today.
Sure, absolutely. So I started off in sales, gosh, really early on in my career. I've never sold insurance, so I'll be upfront about that. I have trained and coached thousands at this point in your space. So I've never sold it personally, but I think the clients I work with, they know how to sell insurance. They know about the policies. They want to go to another level in their results. And that's what I teach. But I started off in corporate sales, and in my mid 20s, found myself having created the life I thought would make me very successful and happy. I was top of the leaderboard at the media sales company I was part of. It had a nice house, a nice car. On the inside, what I wasn't telling anyone was how much I was struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, fear about the money leaving. I had an eating disorder, all of it. And so I really went on this personal transformation journey to figure out there has to be another way to approach success in career and sales and life. And I systematically dismantled everything I thought I knew about how to be successful and make money. And I've been on about a 10-year journey of that now, and have been able to quantum leap my income, heal a lot of the inner personal issues I was struggling with at the time. And what I'm really passionate about now is helping people do this concept I call selling from wholeness, which is helping you really align with the identity of your fullest potential and who is that version of you who has everything you want, and step into that person. And then from that place, we're able to sell more easily, recruit more easily, grow our businesses more easily. So it's this concept we call superhuman selling. And I'm excited to dive into it with you here today.
That's amazing. You know what? That's amazing. And so I am learning a lot. I knew some things about Elyse, but learning a lot kind of with the audience as we go through this today. But, I'm glad that you shared that. It's interesting because as you're telling me, your backstory, I can relate so much. And really, didn't intend talking about kind of this aspect of things today about myself, but I'll just put it out there because I know, sales is tough. And I know our audience, I mean, insurance agency owners, producers, I mean, there's a lot of pressure and it can come with a tremendous amount of stress. And so personally, I've experienced a lot of the same things, right? Where, I was very early on in sales. I mean, I started out at a very large PEO in our industry. At the time, was the youngest salesperson out of about 400 across the nation. And, kind of really was forced to learn and grow up quickly. And it was such a blessing to be in that environment, but also same thing, making good money, having some success, a nice car, go out, buy the BMW, have these things, but still, and, feeling such a tremendous amount of stress, even on into my previous role before, here with HRO, managing sales for about 6.5 years, just feeling, I mean, the same kind of thing, right? You have that fear of like, and I know a lot of our agents feel this now too, because it's a hard insurance market. Renewing clients is difficult. And so you have that fear of losing the income and being able to regain that, or can I achieve this again if I lose it? And so although you're gaining, you're growing, you're constantly making more, like you're never comfortable, you're never at peace. And I mean, really it created for me the same thing, health issues that really are still lingering today that I'm still trying to unwind and kind of peel back out of. So I appreciate you sharing that. And this is amazing to me. So, I mean, I can't wait to hear this, but you went from being stuck at the same income level for 10 years to turning your annual income into your monthly income in 6 weeks. And you guys heard that right, 6 weeks. I saw this and I'm like, what? I mean, mind is blown, but how did you do this? And really, how can others have similar results?
Man, it blew my mind too. Like I thought, you got to be kidding me. This shouldn't be possible. And I also just want to say I appreciate what you shared about your journey too, because it ties in with what happened in my life. And I think everyone listening can relate in some way, shape, or form, because there is so much pressure and there can be. I think we can choose whether we're going to buy into it or not. And I think that's really important. But when you buy into it and you make your validation based on how much production you're doing, it's a slippery slope. So that actually ties in with what happened with my own quantum leap. So I spent over a decade, first in corporate sales and then as an entrepreneur, stuck at the same level financially. And I was doing all the right strategic things. I was teaching. Part of this was I was a sales coach. I was a partner in an 8-figure international sales coaching organization, teaching all the right strategies for how to close, how to overcome objections, how to prospect. So I was doing all the right things. I was investing tens of thousands of dollars into coaching. And yet, no matter what I did, I couldn't break past that 6-figure income threshold. And it's no knock on that. That can be a good life for a lot of people, but I wanted more for my life and I had bigger aspirations.
Sure.
And finally, when you beat your head against a wall enough times, you finally say there's got to be another way. Because simultaneously, even though it was like I was stuck at this level and I was still dealing with limiting beliefs and fears about the money going away. I was nervous a client was going to cancel. I was in anxiety about sales, like all of it. And so this is when I actually really started my journey down neuroscience and studying the concept of our identity and our self-concept, and learning that it's only 2 to 5% of our results, Marcus, are based on the tactical action that we take.
I believe it.
It's 100. This is the subconscious mind. So 90.
I didn't know we would go here today, but man, it's something that I have personally also been studying a lot the last couple of years, because I mean, just the whole process of trying to rewire your brain and kind of rework those neural pathways. But no, keep going. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought, what are the odds? I mean, I have been looking at this for the past couple of years for myself. Like there's same thought process. There's gotta be a better way.
Yes. I love that you're on this journey too. This makes the conversation even more fun. So 95 to 98% of our results are based on our subconscious programming and conditioning of who we are, how much we earn, and all of this. This is the thing, from the age of 0 to 7, this is when all this stuff is being programmed in us. Yeah. So age of 0 to 7, your brain waves are in theta brainwave state. I'm going to tie this back in with my story in a minute, but your brainwaves are in theta brainwave state, which is the same brainwave state that you're in when you're being hypnotized. So everything that's happening around you, whether you hear rich people are greedy, little girls should be seen and not heard, big boys don't cry, money is the root of all evil, money doesn't grow on trees, you take that in as truth, and you develop a self-concept and a self-identity that's based on everything around you, what your parents said, what society said. And then what you don't realize is that you go on into your adult life, you've been programmed just like a computer is programmed. And so what I didn't realize is that when I was stuck and spinning at the same level for over a decade, and I wanted more for my life, but no matter what I did, I couldn't get it. I'd been programmed to operate at a certain level. I had seen my dad go out and earn a certain amount. And so to me, it was like, if I can just do that, I'll be successful. And guess what? That's what I did as soon as I got into corporate, and then I couldn't break past it. So what I didn't know was that everything in me was programming and conditioning me to make a certain amount, be in fear and anxiety about whether it was going to come, feel conflicted about wanting more for my life because there was some part of me that thought money was bad and wanting more money was bad. And so when I really started uncovering this, and I invested very heavily in myself in working with a mentor who helped me unravel so much of this old conditioning and programming and limiting beliefs about who I was and what I was capable of, because I invested half of what I made the whole year before I went into credit card debt for this. I did all the things because I just knew I had to bet on me. And I was faced with every limiting belief I ever had about money, worthiness, success, my self-concept. But because it was so intense and I had to dismantle and create a new identity for myself during that time of someone who was a seven-figure earner, someone who was able to lead and live the way I wanted to live. And because I did the work with such intention, in 6 weeks, I built a new self-concept, a new self-identity for myself. I went on to go from having 100K years to 100K months. And my family's life has transformed dramatically as a result. And that's something I'll pause in a moment because I know there's a lot of places you probably want to go from that. Yeah. But I think this work is so important, not just for us, but for our families, for our kids, for changing the generational lineage. And there's just so much mental enslavement that we don't realize we're subject to. So when you do this work on yourself and you break free, it not only blesses you, but it blesses your family and everyone around you.
That's huge, and it's cool you say that, because I mean, you have little kids, I have small kids, and I mean, I know a lot of our audience, insurance brokers, insurance agency owners, they've got kids. And so it's interesting because I mean, I think a lot of us are maybe, you've kind of been through this process, and obviously it's something that's a continued practice. But for me, kind of in the earlier stages of that same process to some degree, but as you learn, I mean, you're able to then kind of, instill that and take a different approach with your kids and speak different things into your kids and create a different mindset for them to where hopefully, they avoid some of these pitfalls and are maybe a little bit stronger and healthier, with their mental health and self-worth and some of those things. But this is so relatable on so many levels. But I talk to so many of our insurance broker partners, and some of them, maybe 10, 15% of our partnership base have agencies that are, they have found a method, they're growing rapidly. And then you have so many, the mass majority, who've had their agency for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. And they've been at, $1 million or 2 million in revenue, and it really hasn't changed much. They could have just have been stuck at this plateau, for a decade or more. And, I know they're frustrated. I mean, how do I break through? How do I reach that next level? And you mentioned something a minute ago in your conversation about, one of your past experiences. I think you mentioned you were formerly a partner at an 8-figure sales coaching organization. And so kind of curious, with that experience, I mean, I've been through a lot of sales coaching, a lot of sales training, a lot of speakers, but through that experience, I mean, what did that teach you about the missing piece in most sales coaching today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was really, that was the time in my life where I was doing all the right tactical things. And I was taking all the right strategic action. And that's really what we were teaching our clients as well. And again, we can attain a certain level of success with those things. But what I've uncovered and what really created the quantum leap in my life and what we teach our clients now is that because the right tactical actions are only 2 to 5% of your results, it's like if you want to build a skyscraper, right, but you don't have the proper foundation underneath it, that thing's going to topple, right? You maybe get a story high and then that's as far as you're going to go. So to your point, Marcus, about, you know, those in your network who are like, they're stuck at the same level, they haven't broken through. There's a weak foundation underneath that. And so what we've developed and we teach are these 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth. And we call them the 4 M's. So it's what are these 4 different categories that will create that quantum leap in your sales results. And one is mind over matter. So this is where we study neuroscience. We help look at who is the identity of the person who has the results that you're looking for. We help because if somebody's stuck at the same level, there's fear about going to that next level. So we help alleviate that fear so you can feel confident in taking action. So there's a lot of reprogramming and rewiring work at that level. The second M is money. So helping people align with a higher level, a higher frequency of money, because again, it's all limiting beliefs. If you're not willing to let yourself go to the next level with that, and you'll make excuses, you'll say it's the economy, you'll say it's competition, you'll say but if there's one person who's doing it, then it's not universal truth that you can't also go to that same level. So it's all about conditioning to a higher level of, I call it financial frequency. The third, and bear with me here because people may hear this and say, that's a little out there, masculine and feminine energy. We all have both, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. It's that balance between the being and the doing, between the action and the receiving. And most of us in the business world operate really, really heavy in action. We're actually not able to open up to receive. And when we help women and men align these 2 energies in their life, you'll find that work feels a lot easier and making sales feels a lot easier. And then the 4th M is the method. That's the tactical strategic action that we're taking. So what we do is we layer the method and the strategic action on top of that foundation of the first 3. We call those the big 3. And then from that place, people quantum leap.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, and I love it too, because it's such a systematic approach that you guys have kind of, you put together at this point, and you kind of just from, it sounds like a lot of learned experience, in your own testimony. It's cool because, I mean, there's so much power in your belief system and your mindset. I was talking in a live stream just recently, along these same lines, just kind of my personal thoughts around goal setting and how the goals you set for yourself could actually be what's killing your productivity, and the importance of, I mean, really setting big goals too. A lot of our agency partners out here, some of them are independent. It's just them, or there's 1 or 2 people on the team. Like, you don't have this big support system. And a lot of us, you get out from under the corporate structure where you have these aggressive goals and they're driving quarterly metrics, and now it's just you. And you're like, okay, take a little pressure off, and I'm going to set some goals that I'm comfortable with. And then I hear, like I was telling the story, because I was just listening to it not long ago, about Grant Cardone, when he went on, I think it was Undercover Billionaire or Millionaire, whatever the show is. He goes on the show, and the object is like they're taking everything away from you. Basically, your identity is gone. You don't have any of your contacts, any money, and you have to create $1 million business in 90 days, or I forget the timeline. It's 30 days, 90 days. Anyways, short time period. And so Grant's like, I'll create a $10 million business in that time period. Like, this is his mindset going into it. He did not create a $10 million business, but what he did was create a $5 million business. Like, had he set a goal of $1 million, he probably never would have achieved a $5 million business within that period. But he believed strongly that he could do it. Yes. And look at what he achieved. But, and you talked a little bit about breakthrough, and a lot of our agencies, I feel like out there, our partners are really trying to figure out how to do exactly that. I mean, how do I break through to that next level? I mean, do you feel like there is and maybe you've touched on it already, but is there one, particular key that you believe is kind of the key to achieving breakthrough and really becoming a true expert in your space?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a couple things. So there's the tactical element of that, which we can speak to, because you're doing a great job with, I think, even with what you're doing with your content and positioning and putting yourself out there. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. So I think that's important. I think on a higher a higher level, I want to talk about that breakthrough and what that looks like. You have to get fed up with staying where you are. So this is so important. So Marcus, I love what you said about like goal setting, right? And setting goals. And Bob Proctor had this saying that really resonated with me. And I think I heard this after I kind of had my own breakthrough experience, but whatever goal you set, you're trading your life for it.
Yeah.
Like you and I right now in this conversation, we're trading our life for this time. Right? We're trading time. We could be with our kids, with our, it's all a trade. So with whatever it is that you're aiming for, I always tell people, never bring me into your company to teach SMART goals. I think they're a bunch of I think people think, well, respect to whoever teaches SMART goals, realistic to like, no, like I want to go for something that's actually worth trading my life for. That's because awesome. in that moment, it's, and I think this is also a Bob Proctorism, a goal is not to get, a goal is to grow. It's who do I get to become in the process of doing this? And if you want a good kick in the rear to get you motivated, read Bronnie Ware's Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and read about people on their deathbed looking back and saying, I wish I had lived a life that was true to me. And so that's going to be different for everyone. And for some, it may mean, massive expansion in terms of revenue. For others, it may be, you know what, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like I'm pursuing something I saw my dad do. So I don't care what it is, but what do you actually want? And then from that place, decide that you're going to be the expert in it and you're going to go out and serve as many people as possible in it. And so I think it's that level of intention first and foremost, where you are pursuing something that is in alignment with what you would be willing to trade your life for, and then boldly and passionately show up as the person leading that in your industry. And whether it's doing great LinkedIn and video content, Marcus, like you're doing, getting yourself out there on stages, but look at what would the person who has the result that I want be doing? How would they be showing up on social media? How would they be running their day? What would their thoughts be? What would their feelings be? What would their actions be? That's alignment. And then from that place, start showing up as that person every day. And that's when the breakthrough happens.
That's super helpful. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's so important too, to have a vision of like where you want to be, right? You got to have a vision of where you want to be. I mean, what's important to you? I mean, and these are things that, I mean, even I talk a lot about in the hiring and recruiting process, because those are things I want to know about candidates too, that I'm talking to, because like you said, I mean, it's real for me, like even like with the recruiting aspect of things, there's so much that I weigh and value, often much more than the tangible things that are on the resume that I can see. It's really about the characteristics of this person, their mindset, what drives them, what motivates them, their belief systems, that I feel like really, from my experience in our space, has been something that has stood out to me as what really separates clearly the high performers from the average performers who are kind of stuck, and not able to achieve that breakthrough. And I think also important too, I was talking to a former athlete friend of mine as the last podcast that we did with my friend that played in the NFL, and he said something, and I loved it the way he said it. But I'm a big believer in, I mean, really appreciating the adversity and the challenges that come your way. I mean, it's not an easy process to say, okay, well, here's where I want to be. I have a clear vision, boom, I'm going to get there. I mean, it's a journey sometimes to accomplish that and reach that place. But understanding that, the way he said it was, nobody ever became a pro at anything without having gone through some stuff, right? I mean, you have had to go through some stuff to become a pro, right? So understanding that adversity, the challenges, the obstacles, just like what you went through and some of the things I've gone through and I'm going through, I mean, those things really, if you embrace them properly, I mean, either way, they're molding and shaping you somehow.
Yes.
But those would be the things that mold and shape you and help you grow and develop the strengths and things that you need to succeed when you do reach that level. Because if you get there too soon and you don't have the right foundation in place, then it might topple over on you quickly, right? You might not be able to sustain it. And 100%. So it's not just about reaching this next level, it's about sustaining it as well, which you've done. And again, I mean, this has been a great conversation. I think there's so much more that I would like to dig into. I do want to talk a little bit more about this, because I know you talk a lot about mindset and self-worth. And so, and regardless of the strategies that a salesperson has in play, the tactical strategies, regardless of what those things may be, your mindset and how you view yourself are, I believe, critical and directly connected to your outcomes. So you talk a lot about self-worth. What do you feel? Why do you feel that, a person's level of income will never exceed their self-worth? I think that's a great question.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. I mean, when I look back at what happened in my own life, when I call it my quantum leap experience, when that happened, it honestly wasn't about working harder. It wasn't about hustling. It wasn't any of that. It was, I learned to finally feel worthy of the results that I wanted to experience in my life. And there's a lot of conditioning in our society. I think probably, this is my belief, more so for women even than for men, about worthiness and what we are and aren't worthy of or capable of. But it's universal. Yeah. So you will only earn what you feel worthy to receive. And again, most of the population will make within 3% of what their parents made, because you were conditioned and programmed that that was the amount that's normal to make growing up. Absolutely. So yeah. So if you want to make more, you have to actually feel worthy of making more. And I'll share this quick story. I was working with a male client of mine, a private coaching client, who wanted to create a 7-figure company. And I'm always about expansion, and yes, let's do it, and then some. But I want to know why, right? And when I asked him, like, why does this matter to you? Like, and this is a hat off to him. He actually stopped and he thought about it, and he said, you know what? It's because I think I'll finally be good enough then. And I just kind of see his shoulders slump. Yeah. And it was like, he got it in that moment, because if he had hit that amount, but not actually felt good enough for it, or was doing it for the validation to feel good enough, to feel worthy, it would never be enough. And he also wouldn't be able to hold it at that level. So this is why building from that inner foundation of helping you become someone who it just feels natural and normal for you to earn the amount you want to earn. Like Grant Cardone, when he was like, $1 million is nothing, I'm not going to do just that, I'm going to do 10 million, because that actually felt natural and normal to him. That was his financial frequency. It's all about what we believe to be true and possible for us. And there's no big or small, it just is. But it is so true. Your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. So when we are willing to do that inner work to feel worthy of what we want, and then work on becoming the identity match for that, then the actions that you take will be very different, and they will get you to that result you're looking to get to.
Absolutely. No, this was great. And I know I'm looking at time too. And then I think we're coming up on that time, but man, there's so much more that I feel we could continue talking about. I mean, you're obviously a wealth of knowledge and amazing experience that I think puts you in such a great position to be masterful at what you're doing now. And it's clearly why you're having the success you're having. But I think most importantly, I mean, the things that, I've taken from the conversation, and hopefully everyone else has, I mean, all things that, absolutely will have a direct impact on future success moving forward. And I appreciate you sharing all this. I am going to wrap up the episode now. But I did just kind of want to give, you a chance to tell everybody, kind of maybe wrap things up and let us know, where folks can find you, and how folks should be following along and keeping up with you and your content.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. So my website is ElyseArcher.com. That's the home of everything we do. And we do have a great podcast, She Sells Radio, which would love to invite you to subscribe to. I'm at Elyse Archer on all social. I'm probably most active on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So whatever is your pleasure or where you want to connect, I'd love to connect, and let me know you came in from the show and from Marcus, and always happy to connect with new folks. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elyse. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Marcus Malone, president of HRO and the Broker Collective, and you can always, find us at brokercollective.xyz. Obviously, keep up with us on the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, always, aiming to put out fresh new content, bring in great, I think experts like Elyse to really, do what we can to give our insurance partners out there everything that we can to empower them and help them really boost and grow their agencies at a rapid pace. And so hopefully you all enjoyed the conversation. Elyse, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch everyone on the next episode.